Welcome. During this training video, I'm going to teach you some WordPress basics. By the end of this short training video, you'll have a basic understanding of what WordPress is, how to get started with it, some administrative information, and where you can go for more help. In the later training videos, you'll learn more about actually adding and managing content as well as blog posts. First, I want to get started with what's really possible for WordPress. I'm just going to flip through a couple of different designs because back when WordPress first started, everybody thought it was just blogging software. It's actually just another content management system where you can add any design, customize it any way that you want to, have any structure of content and organization of your message. That's all it really is. WordPress was designed to make it really simple for the end user to be able to manage their own website instead of having to hire a developer to make tiny little changes to your website. So you have websites here that can have a flash introduction, multiple different layouts where the home page is different from the internal pages, which might be different than the blog pages. Same thing here. A lot of times what you're starting to see online in the trends in design is that you'll have a different home page than an internal page. You can even have rotating logos here on the side. I mean, it's really incredible what WordPress has been able to provide to small business owners and corporate business owners as well. So here we even have a site for Benjamin Franklin here. So it's really tremendous. You can add video, you can add audio, you can do blogging, you can do social network sharing. Anything is truly possible with WordPress. And that's sort of what the outside looks like. But what does the inside look like? Well, everybody has been given their own unique login URL with a username and password. This allows you to access the back end of your website. Now, when you're working with WordPress, I really strongly recommend that the browser you use is Firefox. Different browsers would include Internet Explorer, Safari, Google Chrome. There's a lot of different browsers out there, and they each read and function with the website a little bit differently. I have found in all of my experience that Firefox works seamlessly with WordPress. It's really easy, it's fast, and it's secure. If you don't have Firefox already on your computer, just Google Firefox. You can go to their website and download the browser for free. So just click the green free download button. You'll follow the prompts, and then you'll notice an icon appears on the desktop of your computer. And then you just open it up as you would Internet Explorer or Safari and start browsing the internet. I've been a Firefox lover for a long time, and Google Chrome is also a really good browser as well if you're looking for an alternative. When you're ready, you would just go to your WordPress login area and add in your username and password to log in to your backend administration area. You'll arrive on what's called a dashboard. It's really just a summary area. You'll see a summary of the pages and blog posts that you have. You'll see a bunch of different modules down here where you could click on an arrow and see more information that pops up. A lot of these modules down here just tend to be WordPress updates in general. You'll see a running list of your comments, assuming that you have a blog attached to your website. On almost every single install we do, we'll attach a Google Analytics summary box. And Google Analytics is your visitor tracking system, basically, where it will track how many visitors you're getting in a day, what keywords they're typing into Google to come across your website, what pages they're entering in on, and what pages they're leaving your website through, etc. And so once your website is live, you will have a Google Analytics summary here, which is really fun. I like to log into my website every single day and see the updated information. Typically with Google Analytics, today you will see yesterday's results, so we're always about a day behind. Beneath the Google Analytics summary box, you'll usually see a broken link checker. What happens is that we've installed what's called a plugin. These are both plugins. Think of a plugin as a little mini piece of software that's been attached to your website to enhance the functionality, make it easier to use, make it more secure, etc. This broken link checker plugin, it actually scans your website every day, looking for links that don't work, because nothing is more frustrating to a visitor than when they're trying to click on something and they get an error page or they don't get access to the information that they expected to get. This can actually really turn a visitor off. So we've installed this plugin on most websites so that, it's scanning your website for broken links, and then you can very easily fix them. So for example, you would get a notification that says you have one broken link, and you can click on that little message and it will take you to a sort of editing screen where you would then be able to look at the URL that's broken. Maybe it was broken because of a typo. So you could fix that typo and publish it, and then now your website is running smoothly with no broken links. Also, on some website installs, we have a plugin called C-Forms that will allow a contact form to be added to your website that allows a website visitor, to fill out their name, email address, and a comment to you. As sort of a backup, we have, aside from being notified via email when you have a contact form inquiry, you'll also see a little note pop up here saying that somebody has emailed you through that contact form as a backup source. So your dashboard is going to be sort of your overview. You can always come back to your dashboard by clicking this little dashboard button. You'll notice that there's a left-hand sidebar. That's going to stay there no matter where you are inside of your WordPress admin area. You'll see different tabs, posts, media, links, etc., that you can click on to get to different areas within WordPress. So for example, posts. If I click on that, this is your whole area for blogging. That's all you need to know, that this section right here is just for blog posts. So you can see previous blog posts, you can add a new blog post. We'll be talking about this in video 3 during the blogging portion. If I click on media, this is actually a media library where it stores all of your media files. Anything from images to Word documents, PDFs, audio clips, and possibly even video. With audio and video, the file sizes are so big that a lot of times we might need an alternative way to add those types of media files into WordPress. But for adding in simple images or Word documents or PDFs, the media library is the way to go. And again, we'll cover that in later sections. Links, you can actually just ignore that whole tab because we very rarely use that. Pages. This is what's going to control all of the actual pages in your website. So for example, an About Us page. That content, since it is not a blog post and a static page that is always going to exist on the site, that's going to be found in this section here. Comments. Comments are for blogs only. So when somebody is on your blog and makes a comment on your post, it will actually appear here inside of your WordPress admin area, where then you are required to approve it, or you can delete it, or if it's a spam comment, you can mark it as spam. You will also be able to reply to comments and keep the conversation going. So that's the comments section. Everything above here in this top section is where you're going to be spending, I would say, 98% of your time. Everything else inside of WordPress, since it's such a huge, robust machine, everything else is really just going to be used during the developmental stages of your website and something that has been used by a programmer. So for example, your appearance section. You will see this is the theme that controls the look and feel of your whole website. That whole design is actually going to be something that we developed into a theme. I would strongly recommend not going into the theme files, the editor files, which is really the breakdown of your theme files, unless you have a really solid background of PHP and HTML knowledge. Because if there's a slight change to those files and a backup wasn't made, you could really alter or hurt the look and feel of your website. So this is, I would use this section if you have a little bit more experience and confidence. Widgets. This is something that you would like to know about. Widgets are usually modules that control the sidebars of your website and sometimes the footer of your website. So for example, in this particular website, you will see that each of these little boxes is actually going to be a widget. So it allows the client to go in and very easily edit these links, add new images if they'd like to. So as another example, these rotating these rotating logos can actually be widgets as well. You can add text as widgets, links as widgets, etc. So think of a widget as just a little module that can be added to a sidebar. On the left-hand side of this screen, you will see available widgets. On the right side are the actual widgets that make up your website. So for example, if I wanted to add a search box into my website, then I could just drag the search box over and simply drop it in place, and I could give that widget a heading such as search this site and save it, and now that widget would appear on the sidebar of my website. Now typically your widget area is already going to be crafted and designed as we went through the initial design process with you. So for example, this website has these links, this widget area, and this widget area. Of course, you can add and change to that over time, so I just wanted to give you a general understanding of what widgets are. The next section is menus, and this is going to be an important one. This is going to be what controls the menu system or the navigation system in your website. So for example, on this particular site, we have one menu. It's the main navigation menu. It has pages home, about us, office products, furniture, etc. Home, about us, office products, furniture, etc. Now let's say that I wanted to alter that menu and I no longer wanted to feature the contact page. I can simply click that down arrow, click remove, and then click the blue Save Menu button. When I refresh the page, you'll notice that my contact button has disappeared. If I want to add that page back in, I can go over here to a Pages module, click View All Pages. I can find that contact page, click Add to Menu. It will always appear here at the bottom, and I can actually drag and drop that wherever I would like to place it. So let's say right here where it was before, and I can click Save Menu, and you'll notice that as I refresh the page, that link will reappear in the top navigation bar. So anytime you want to alter a page, then the menu bar, you can actually just come over here to Appearance, Menus, Add or Remove Pages. Just note that you wouldn't want to add so many pages that extends the width of your website, obviously. You wouldn't want it to go forever and ever and ever. Now, you have to understand that each website is created differently. It's going to be programmed a little bit differently based on the structure and design of your layout, the organization of all of your content pages, etc. So each one is going to be a little bit different. Because this is a general training, if you have any additional questions, you would simply let us know. For example, some websites, though, will have what's called a drop-down menu system, where if I hover on the word furniture, maybe a subgrouping of other pages would appear here. In order to make a drop-down menu appear, it would need to be coded in. However, what I could do is simply indent this page, for example, and that would create the drop-down list. Let's give another example. Let's say I'm at the Secure Financial Group website. You'll know that when I hover on precious metals, they have this drop-down menu appear where I can click on a tab and be taken to that particular page. When I look inside of their WordPress area and I go to the main menu, you'll see that these pages have been indented in the menu system, which is why it created that drop-down menu effect here. If your website has drop-down menus, then you would basically be able to monitor and do the same thing. I could easily add a new page if I wanted to add in the services page. I could just click Add to Menu. Again, it would appear at the bottom. I could have it listed at the bottom of this section. So really, I mean, I can control if it's alphabetical, I could set them alphabetically, or if I had a specific order to them, I simply just drop them and drag them, and I can be able to easily control that menu system this way. So if I click Save Menu, I can come back to the website, refresh the page, and now I see my Services button has now been added to Precious Metals. Again, I can remove that by clicking the red Remove link, and you always want to click Save Menu. You can also add custom links to your website. So for example, if I wanted to add a link to google.com, and then I could give it a name such as search, and I could add that to the menu, and then, add it under my coins tab under precious metals, and then I could click Save Menu. I'm not going to do so, but you can absolutely add links to outside websites if you'd like to that way. That's a basic understanding of menus. Note that sometimes you will have multiple navigation systems. So for example, this website has a top navigation menu and a bottom navigation menu, in which case this site would have been programmed to have a main menu and what's called a footer menu, or the bottom menu. And you can control those links and how they show up there as well. One thing that I will add since I'm on this website is you see this yellow bar that says please update now. And then you'll also notice that there's a 6 with a circle around it next to plugins, and it says 8 total updates. Very frequently you will see that WordPress and the other pieces of software, the plugins, so that those add-on pieces of software, very frequently you will notice that they have an update available. And I want to take a minute to talk about upgrades and updates because you'll see this a lot. Because there are constant updates coming out, don't feel like you have to update it immediately. You can, of course, but it's not required, okay? You definitely want to keep on top of your updates, but it's also important to have somebody standing by in case something breaks. From time to time, an update will come out, and it might have a little glitch in it, for example. So I usually like to wait a couple of weeks before, I upgrade everything, because then at that time, all the little glitches would have been worked out. And so I can just come over to my dashboard here to the updates section, and I can update everything at once simply by selecting all and clicking the update plugins or the blue update now button for WordPress. So there's 2 things to update here. When you do an upgrade, though, it's really important that you're backing up your files. So be sure to talk to your webmaster about that. You just want to go about it in the smartest and most efficient way possible. In case there's a break in your website or something happens, you want to make sure that somebody's standing by to help you with that. So I would say that when you see a bunch of WordPress updates coming out, maybe wait a couple weeks for all the final upgrades to appear, then make a backup, have somebody standing by that you trust that can help you, and then go ahead and update everything, and you should be good to go. You do want to stay on top of that, though, because of security reasons. So that you'll always be notified by that little blue banner that comes across here, and you'll see the notification in a couple of different areas. So we've talked about appearance. Again, the only thing here that you're going to be concerning yourself with is really the widgets area and then the menus area, which controls the navigation. Everything else, I would just leave that up to your programmer or designer because there's a lot of code in there that obviously makes up your website. Plugins, again, that's the mini piece of software that's been added. Every website has a different plugin list available depending on what their website needs. There are a lot of constant ones that we use that we know works really, really well. For example, this one is actually going to protect your website against spam. This one is going to allow you to add in search engine optimization on your website. This one's going to scan your website for broken links. This one allows you to have website forms on, on your contact page. The Google Analytics plugin. So they all have their own purpose. Each website is going to have maybe a similar list of ones that we have tried and used that we know work really well and definitely benefit the client. You can absolutely add new plugins if you want to. Just be careful to not go overboard with this, because plugins can end up slowing down a website over time. I try to only stick with some core plugins that I know really work well, just because a plugin is developed by anybody in the world. Naturally, some are going to be developed better than others. So you just kind of want to be careful, do your due diligence when you're researching plugins to add to your website. Read the reviews, go on Google, see what people are saying about it, see if there have been any problems created because of the plugin, and then you should be good to go. But just know that we have already installed the top plugins on the market that we know work and will do absolute wonders for your website and boosting search engine traffic, etc. That's the plugins list. And you can deactivate a plugin if you want to. You can go into the settings, etc. Users. If you have multiple people under your team that might want to work within WordPress, it might be a good idea to set up different users. You'll always note an admin user, but let's say that you want to add in somebody who's going to be guest blogging for you. You will go ahead and come into this section, click on Add New, give them a username, type in their email address, first name, last name, give them a password. You can send that password to the new user via email. And then you want to assign a role to your user. At the WordPress.org website, there's a page that talks about the summary of roles. For example, the administrator is going to be somebody who has access to the entire website, okay? All of your PHP core files, the design files, everything. That's an administrator. A subscriber is somebody who can just basically manage their profile. If you have a membership type website, or you force somebody to sign up and get a subscriber user account in order to create and manage content or comments, then you can set up that feature on your website, and when the subscriber logs in, they literally only see this information. So all of your page content, your posts, the appearance, all of this goes away, and they can literally only see their own information. A contributor is a much more popular type of profile. This is somebody who can log in and write and manage blog posts. So they will not be able to see the pages. They will not be able to see appearance. They can literally log in, add a blog post, and they can't even publish it. They would just come in and notify you that their post is ready for review, and you would have to go in and actually publish that blog post. An editor is somebody who can publish and manage posts, etc. So, you can just even pause this video if you want to read the run through of the summary of roles. But when you want to add somebody as a new user, you would just come in here and do so. And then over time, you can manage all users by clicking on that link. At any time, you can delete profiles. So for example, if your assistant is no longer working with you, you can delete her profile or change out their passwords, etc. Tools. Tools is really sort of like your backup system, okay? So before we talked about upgrading WordPress, and you want to make sure that you have a backup. Well, you can import and export content. I would say from time to time, it's a good idea to make an export of all of your content. It's going to pull everything into one file that you can keep on your computer in case something happens. You have a backup of all of your content. Most websites will also have a backup link here, and this is a plugin that we have installed that allows you to back up your database. Now, a database is sort of like a storage unit, okay? So WordPress, The software is connected to an external database or storage unit, and that is where your design is preserved. That's where your content is. Sort of your entire inner workings of WordPress is connected to this database, so that if for some reason your website crashes or something happens, you have that backup of your database, which would allow us to really quickly get your website up and running again. At any time, you can download this backup of your database to your computer. You can save it to the hosting server. You can email it to yourself. And you can even schedule, let's say, a weekly backup to be emailed to you. And that's what I actually have for my personal website. Once a week, I get an email from the system saying, here's your new backup of your database. A lot of times your hosting company will also keep a backup of your database and your core hosting files. You may want to check with them just to be safe. It's always better to be safe than sorry, and definitely do your due diligence. That's where you can make a backup, and then you can also manage your broken links through this section as well. Settings. This is your general settings area where you can change like your site title. You don't want to change your website address here. You want to have a programmer do that. You can change your email address to get main notifications. For example, when somebody submits a comment on your blog, you can have, set the email address here to get notified of that. There are just some general settings. I guess my biggest tip for you guys is when you're first diving into WordPress. I know it can get a little overwhelming. There's a lot to look at, but you have to know that WordPress is really, really user-friendly. It's very easy. One of the biggest tips I can give you is just to come in and click around and just read the different subheadings, kind of get familiar with the system. You don't have to change anything, but just kind of get a sense of where things are. You really won't need to use most of the information in here because, again, this was all set up by your developer. But I just want to more or less give you a sense of this is where you can change the settings on certain things that make WordPress what it is. That's my best explanation of that for you. And then we have our C Forms management area here. This is a section where we can change the different fields on a form. So let's, for example, go to our second form, which is our contact form here. Notice we have name, email, subject, your message. Name, email, subject, your message. If you have any questions on how to set up a form, if you want another one, you can absolutely ask us. We're more than happy to go into detail on any of these things for you. But I just wanted to give you a general sense of this is where that we went to create that form. We can add any fields that we want to. If I go to admin email message options, I can change the email address that gets the notifications when somebody has filled out a form. So I just wanted to give you a general sense of this is the section where we went in and created that form if you have one on your website. And this is just simply a security scanner that most websites will have as well. Again, quick overview is this is your dashboard. Blog posts are going to be under the post section. You can add images and documents and media. Pages is where your static content pages will exist. And comments for managing blog comments. Widgets are for your sidebar, and menus are to organize your top navigation bar. And then you can go and add new users if you even want to, and then this is where you can make a backup. But that's basically everything that you need to know about this left sidebar, where you're going to be spending most of your time. Now, WordPress.org is a great site to use as a resource for additional learning and training. If you want to stay on top of WordPress, see what's coming out, see what people are doing, you can go to their blog, you can go to their docs area so that you can get more training and information about blogging or plugins or themes or literally anything that you can imagine. The thing that I love the most about WordPress is how documented it really is. And if I ever have a question, if I see an error message that pops up and I don't know what it is, instead of contacting a webmaster, I'll usually just go and add that error code right into my Google search engine. And the answer is right there. It will tell me what I need to do. Or for example, if I think, how do I add a link to my content? I forgot how to do that. Well, I'll just Google it. WordPress, how do I add a link? And a step-by-step training tutorial will come up. Thousands, I'd say hundreds of thousands of people around the world, if not more, are using WordPress. And so it's very well documented. There's a lot of training information out there. So don't be afraid to be a do-it-yourselfer and really take the opportunity to research the solution first if you want to, just an option. I tend to be a do-it-yourselfer. So that's where you can go for more additional training if need be. And that kind of summarizes the basics of WordPress. I know that was a little bit of a longer video. I just wanted to make sure that you felt a little bit more comfortable navigating within this system. During the next training video, we're really going to dig in and talk about working with WordPress pages. So adding content and editing content such as images, links, and more. So we'll see you here in a minute. Thanks a lot.